Hi friends. I'm Nicole Toscano with Nationwide Pet, and today I get to talk to you about the pet insurance offering and all that it does for your pets and your pocketbook. So today we're going to talk about the product itself and some nuances about it and how you can enroll. And I'm super excited to be with you today. I have 4 pets myself. I'm a pet advocate. I will throw my pandemic puppy into the screen. So, can't wait to see others share their pets. I mean, if we want to do a cute pet contest, I'd be open to sponsoring that. All right, so let's jump into the conversation. So, Nationwide has been around for quite a few years. We started way back in 1982 by veterinarians who were unfortunately not able to practice medicine. At that time and back in 1980, a lot of people were not able to afford the care that it took to take care of that broken leg or a major condition. And unfortunately, euthanasia was very cheap. And veterinarians came together and said, we have to come up with a solution here. I need to be able to practice my medicine. I need animals to be saved. This is the passion that I went to school for. And hence they formed us back in 1982. And we had the first dog that was insured by us was actually a very famous dog. Could be a boy, could be a girl. Anybody have thoughts? Lassie. So Lassie was our ambassador. He was actually our first pet insured with us, and super exciting because, Lassie is definitely an amazing character and was always there for her pet parents, just as Timmy was for her. In that story, she was a she, right, everybody? We knew that. All right, so we started way back in 1982, and we've been offering pet insurance since then. We offer it for doggies and kitties, but we also offer it for other types of pets like snakes, hamsters, birdies. I put some examples there on the screen so you can get an idea of it. I'll throw out there that we don't do horses. I'm sorry. So we don't do livestock, horses, or fish. But outside of that, as long as they're not like a wild wolf or a cougar, we can insure them. All right. And let's dive into the product. Now, you all get a special employee-only plan. So this is called My Pet Protection, or you can get the My Pet Protection with Wellness. And it operates very similar to our own medical insurance, and it's PPO in that sense. You can go to any veterinarian in the world, and there is an annual deductible of $250. Once you've spent that $250 at the vet, then we kick in at the reimbursement level that you choose. You can choose 50, 70, or 90. And then we continue to pay out that percentage that you choose until out of pocket from Nationwide to you, we pay out $7,500 for the year. Those benefits all auto renew for the next year. So you always have that bucket of $7,500 for each pet every year to take care of their medical expenses. All right. Now, the cool thing about this product is that, like I said earlier, it is a special employee plan. And the reason is because it has unique features in it that is not typically seen in a pet insurance product. It's also only rated by, do you have a cat or a dog or a bird or a snake species? And then what state do you live in? So if you kind of read between the lines there, you'll probably notice that we're not asking, well, how old is your dog? Or what breed do you have? Do you have a bulldog or a medical nightmare like my pug? We're not asking that. This is definitely a unique product in the sense that every single dog and every single cat in your state will be the same price. Every parrot, right? Every gecko. Not that there's many different breeds of geckos, I guess. You know what? You could probably tell me there are, but I don't think there are. But the point is it's very simple, very, you don't have to worry about your older pet being super expensive or a puppy being super expensive because, all those puppy things. You don't have to worry about having a special breed that is super expensive. So, it's that set pricing by state. So super exciting. And only your colleagues can get this. Your neighbor down the street cannot, unless they work with you, of course. But outside of that, this is definitely a unique plan specific for you and your colleagues. So let's dive into the product a little bit more. I put a nice little grid showing check marks all the way down. And these are stereotypical things that you think about with pet insurance. You know, you go to the vet and there's an upset tummy or an ear infection or not eating, right? Or you have a kitty who's sneezing. You know, all those kind of things that can happen and all the care related that is needed to treat that situation, that symptom, that diagnosis, whatever's going on. Okay? All of that is covered on both plans. Now, we also on this plan cover things like hereditary, congenital. We cover prescription food. What? Yes. Prescription food, supplements. I mean, it's all of those things that your veterinarian would recommend as treatment for whatever's going on with your baby. So the reason why the check marks stop right about, I don't know where you are on your screen, but there, no, is because the My Pet Protection with Wellness also includes the routine services that are part of your year-to-year services that you do to keep them healthy. Things like exams, vaccines, yearly blood work, spay and neuter, hence my pandemic puppy, right? Dental cleanings. So flea and heartworm. I mean, big dog right here, right? I mean, I spend $600 a year on flea and heartworm medications for a very large dog. You're right. Yeah. Now I do live in California, a little more expensive. But still, regardless, it is expensive. Hence, the My Pet Protection with Wellness is literally head-to-tail coverage. Covers all the things that your pet need at the vet that are needed to treat any conditions that are going on with them. So it's pretty simple. I was also going to throw out too behavioral conditions. A lot of pet insurance companies will exclude behavioral situations. So let's say that we go back to work, and I think this is going to happen to me. We go back to work and we're now going to the office instead of being home with them, and now they're starting to get separation anxiety and they're digging out the house or they're tearing up the house or themselves, you know, their paws or something because of that. Well, that's a great example of something that typically is excluded on a pet insurance plan. However, with us, it is actually covered. And that might mean like whether it's just a medical situation, like a medical treatment, like antibiotic or something like that, to Prozac, like doggy Prozac. Yes, doggy Prozac. We have that for our pets too. And then there's dog like behavioral training. So if your veterinarian says, all right, that's it. You've tried the doggy Prozac, or you've tried this or tried that, I recommend you go to a trainer and see if they can help you with these issues. And that is covered with the pet insurance. Pretty darn amazing. Yeah. Okay. Now there's a few additional things that are included in the plans that are unique even within our own company. There's a $500 benefit if, let's say, you or your family member is hospitalized. And this is a 48 hours or more, not just like popped into the ER kind of thing. But if you end up in the hospital for 48 hours or more, we wanted to give you all a benefit that would help take care of Fluffy while you are focusing on healing or helping your family member heal. So that's a great little benefit there. There's also a benefit for if your baby gets lost or stolen. And sadly, this happens a lot. I mean, my neighbor down the street, 2 French bulldogs have been stolen and have yet to be reunited with their family. Super sad. Now, after 60 days, if those Frenchies do not come home, then she actually has the ability to submit a claim to get up to $500 in her money. It's a replacement benefit. I know that sounds terrible, but I mean, it's a nice benefit. If you don't have a receipt for your pet, it's $150. If you do have a receipt for your pet, we'll pay you that. We'll match that amount up to that $500. All right. And then lastly is a mortality benefit. This is amazing because I had to do this for my own dog right before, I got Dakota about 1.5 years ago at the shelter. But prior to that, I had a Rottweiler for 12 years. He was the star of my life. Don't tell my husband. But star of my life. And unfortunately, he did pass in 2019, and it was devastating for us and our children. And we ended up having a veterinarian come to our house and was able to help him, cross that bridge and help us with the burial and cremation services. You can do burial services as well with a pet cemetery. So you have that $1,000 benefit for that kind of end of lifetime. All right, so I hit on all the great coverage. You're probably wondering, well, this is so amazing. What's not covered, right? There's always something, right, that's not covered. Well, the good news is because this is a special employee plan, it's actually a very short list of things that are excluded. And it's really these. So grooming, haircuts, nail trims, that kind of stuff. Boarding, like you go on vacation, right? We're not going to pay for your boarding, right? The taxes and waste fee. These are fees that veterinarians pass to us as pet parents that they incur, and they're unrelated technically to the medical care, but they do pass those to us. So that waste fee, the taxes, let's say they do a copy fee or bank fee, those kind of things. Breeding, I know that sounds strange, but there are more and more, especially with like Frenchies or Bulldogs or Pugs, veterinarians are more involved in the breeding process, and they may charge you for those fees. Well, in that case, the pet insurance doesn't cover the act of breeding. Now, let's say you're insured with us and your baby gets pregnant and, needs mommy care or a C-section or, really anything needed for the care of mommy. That's all covered under the pet insurance. So you're good to go there. Now, I left the last one because that's the big one. Pre-existing conditions. If a pet has something going on prior to the policy starting, that condition or anything that it ends up being down the road is excluded. A great example is limping. A lot of, I don't want to say, a lot of people, I don't want to generalize, but, we don't really realize we need pet insurance until we hear a story, right? Or we experience it ourselves. Or then there's others that are just super savvy with insurance and, they go out there and get it right away and make sure they're protecting their pocketbook. But, the vast majority of us are just kind of going about life, right? And then we realize, oh, Dakota's limping. What's going on? This could be really serious. Oh my gosh, what could this mean? And then you go to the vet and you find out, oh, it's just a simple soft tissue trauma. Yay. So hallelujah, you get the pet insurance, you're good to go. That is something that's not going to be long-term. It's not arthritis or cancer or, something that's going to require a leg amputation or things like that. So if it's a condition that's going to continue to need care, then you should expect that it will not be covered. We don't ask for records or require an exam or anything like that to start the pet insurance. But if we get a claim that appears that it could be pre-existing or you have an older pet, we will ask for a year's worth of records. So set that clear right there. If you go in with that expectation that, hey, I know she's limping, that won't be covered. But guess what? Everything else unrelated to that limping is definitely covered. And then because that's a soft tissue trauma, a temporary situation, not something that's long-term, after 6 months of no care, no special diets, no special, you didn't put them on glucosamine and chondroitin and CBD oil or, something like that your veterinarian recommended putting on for long-term care of those symptoms, then it can be covered again. So it's not a forever exclusion. All right. So how the pet insurance works, you all are set up on Benefit Focus in your benefits portal. When you go to your benefits portal, you'll see the shops and offers section, and we are there. And you will be able to pay for this via direct bill, which makes it super convenient. You don't have to worry about, you're looking at your paycheck or if you have changes in your job hours or anything like that. It's just the pet insurance is going, yet you still get that great benefit of taking advantage of an employee-only benefit. All right, so how it works, every pet will have their own pet insurance policy. Now, I have 4 pets, so I get a multiple pet discount. Woo, woo, woo. And I know about 30% of you out there, based on enrollments with us, that have multiple pets that are insured with us. So when you have 2 or 3 pets insured with us, you get an additional 5% off of the already preferred pricing. All right. And then if you have 4 or more, which is me, you would get 10% off of each policy on top of your already preferred pricing. So it's kind of like a multi-pet discount or multi-policy discount kind of thing. And so when you pay for the policy via direct bill, it'll all be right there on the portal. You will pay 2 months, just like when you do like your internet or your cell phone or your auto and home coverage, you pay the current month plus 1 month ahead. Okay, so that's how it'll work. If you decide to pay monthly, there's a $2 banking fee. I know those darn banking fees, but it's a reality. And so hence the $2 per pet per month banking fee. If you pay for the year, then you don't have those fees associated. All right, so that's how it works from, each pet gets their own policy. Now, how the pet insurance itself works. You don't have a network. It's not, like, hey, I've got this insurance card and I can only go to these vets because they've agreed to only charge XYZ for services, hence we feel comfortable. No, 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 no. You get to go wherever you want. You can go to specialists. You can go to different veterinarians every day. We don't care. You literally have that $7,500 bucket to use towards whatever you need for your baby. So it's called, what it is reimbursement. So what you do is you're at that vet, you're paying the bill, snap a picture with your phone, send that to us, and then we can reimburse you via either check or automatic deposit into your bank account. I opt in for the automatic deposit because then it's, we don't have to worry about the 10 to 14 days it takes for mail these days. So I would definitely recommend that. We will give you instructions on how to opt in for that, and it's all handled through Chase Bank. All right, so it's reimbursement. Reimbursement's pretty quick. If you do have an older pet or we request records, it will take longer for that claim. You can always submit your records at the beginning and just avoid that. Or, for me, when I submit a claim, because I've been with us forever, but when I submit a claim on Monday, I usually have the money in my bank by Friday. So it's pretty awesome. All right, so I'm going to pretty much close this up with 3 big takeaways. The main one is, if you do nothing else, make sure you at least get the My Pet Protection Plan. The knock on wood, what if something happened, right? What if she developed an upset tummy that later became IBS? What if, she gets limping and then later becomes arthritis? What if my pug gets a scratch on her eye, which is definitely going to happen when she runs through that park bush? So it's all those what ifs, right? So no matter what, you want to make sure you're protecting your pocketbook against those situations that could happen. We just never know. And then you also, as a pet parent with specific breeds, know that certain things can happen in them. So if you have a pug or a bulldog or a French dog, you better get the insurance. I'm talking to you. No. But the reality here is just cover yourself in case the what ifs, right? Just like when we get insurance for ourselves, you do the same for your 4-legged dependents. Same thing. All right. The next thing is like, well, do I do the wellness or not? The wellness plan is significantly more, but it's because you're guaranteed to spend hundreds to even thousands on wellness. So when you're looking at your expenses, do you have a pet that has $600 a year in flea and heartworm, or a pug that's going to get spayed and neutered, and then every year after that, she's going to need a dental cleaning because of her breed? So for me, it makes sense to pay for that wellness in that scenario. Now, if you have a cat, let's say, that stays indoors and never goes outside and only does the annual exam, then it may not make sense to do the My Pet with Wellness. But if you're that pet parent that does everything under the sun, or you're out hiking and so you need that flea and heartworm, and you do all those things, you do yearly blood work, you do yearly dentals, all of that, then you definitely want the My Pet Protection with Wellness. It's definitely going to be a cost saving for you. And then lastly, enroll before your pet gets sick. Okay, I can't emphasize that enough. We want to insure your pet and get everything taken care of, but we can't do that unless you insure before they get sick. And then I'll throw in a 4th one. Submit your claims. No, I'm joking. Please submit your claims. This is one of your benefits. We want you to use it. Submit your claims. Don't forget, snap a picture. It's that simple. Just use your phone. You're on your phone anyways, right? At the vet, you probably whip out the credit card from your phone. So while you're doing that, snap a picture of the invoice. And I'll throw out that you don't have to have the invoice paid. It just has to be an invoice. So if you submit an estimate, we won't pay on it. But if you submit us an invoice, regardless if it's paid or not, we will definitely pay you for that. All right, I got off my soapbox. So lastly, I'll just say that, make sure you're aware you can enroll anytime. You don't have to wait for any special enrollment period or anything like that. All employees are eligible for the pet insurance. And then go check us out. Go check out your benefits portal. Check out the shops and offers. Your company's offering you some great benefits. And so this is the time to take advantage of that. All right, until next time, talk to you later. Bye bye.